Thank you, Ray. Let's see if this works. All right, thank you. A friend of mine once told me that for every problem you solve, you create 8 more. And I'm not sure about 8, but I have found that once you solve one problem, you just created 1 or 2 more down the line. An example of that is back in the old days, before the invention of the hay baler, the farmers went out and they gathered up the loose hay and they put it in stacks. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is these stacks, the way they did it, actually provided protection from the rain. They shed the water. They could actually leave them there till they had a good time to go back and get them and move them to the barn, or they would just leave them there till they were ready to feed them. Well, then we come along with the invention of the hay baler, and then we put motors on these hay balers, and we started scattering them bales right back out over the farm again. And now they're not protected. So we've just created another problem. How to get these things up. So the challenge is, once you've made this happen, you want to make this happen as fast as you can before this happens. And I know you've all experienced having a whole bunch of hay on the ground and all of a sudden the sky starts turning this color here. So more and more farmers are looking toward quicker means of getting these small square bales picked up. The challenge of getting these bales picked up has become greater and greater for 2 or 3 main reasons. One is farmers are growing more hay, so they've got to pick up more hay in the same amount of time. We haven't got any more hours in a day. The weather has become a lot more erratic. We don't get showers anymore. We get thunderstorms, and they just pop up. And then the biggest thing is in my area is the unavailability or total absence of labor. There's just nobody to help you, so you got to work out something else. So what we're going to look at today are systems of picking up hay. But what I want to say first is I've been in the straw business for 35 years and the hay business for 24 years, and I buy hay from other farmers to supplement what I grow. But a lot of times I'll go to a guy and he's bought him a new piece of machinery and he's went out there and picked up this hay and then he just got it in the barn. And when I go to look at this hay, it didn't keep. It wasn't put in the barn right. I've got 2 guys I buy from regularly that use stack wagons, and they set it on a dirt floor every year. And they lose the entire bottom layer, which is about 15% of their crop. And I keep telling them, y'all got to quit doing this, but it's their money. My guy, Jose, that does all my loading, he said, well, he comes back and he says, they don't like money. They don't like money. And it matters. How you pick it up affects how you store it. So a lot of times we figure once it's picked up, we don't worry about it no more. But we want to look at all that. And what we're going to look at today is the 4 major systems that we use, and they are the traditional flat wagons, stack wagons, accumulators, and bale banders. And we're going to evaluate them, the pros and cons. Now, first thing I want to say is when I talk about the negatives of a certain system, don't get offended. I'm not judging you or the way you pick up hay. I was telling somebody about one of these the other day and acted like I hurt his feelings because I said, well, the problem with this system is, but everything has its pros and its cons, and you do what works for you. But we're going to look at the pros and cons. We're going to see how it works. We're going to look at the equipment requirements. We're going to look at the field operations, operator skill requirements, and storage constraints. One thing I want to state first is one major factor is that all of these mechanical, for no better term, I'm going to say hay picker-upper systems. They are just that. They're a system. It doesn't mean you just go buy one thing and you're good to go. You either have to buy a little bit more, or you've at least got to tweak the way that you've been doing things. And that's what I was talking about those guys. They just went and bought this new machine and they didn't tweak anything else and it didn't work out. So first thing we're going to look at is the traditional flat wagons. And I'm pretty sure everybody here knows how this works, so I'm not going to go in detail how this works. But this is the absolute best way to pick up hay when it comes from a quality standpoint. Every bale is getting individual attention. This is the best way to do it. Okay, first we're going to look at the pros of the flat wagon. No special equipment needed. You know, I think anybody that works on hay has some wagons and something to pull it with, whether it's a horse, a four-wheeler, or a tractor. It does not require skilled labor. If your 5-year-old daughter can hold on to the clutch and mash the clutch and hold on to the steering wheel, you got yourself a tractor driver. And you can get out there, and we're not even going to talk about people just letting the tractor drive itself out through the field while they're picking it up. So labor requirements and skilled labor is very low. As I said before, each bale gets individual attention. So, you know, I can't tell you how many bales when we're picking up by hand, I'm flipping them over and kicking them with my knee to straighten them back out. You got deformed, damaged, or bad bales, you can keep them separate from the rest of the crop. There's no limitations on where you can put them. This was designed to put hay in the loft, which is the absolute best place to store hay. A loft has a wooden floor, it's got air ventilation all around it, it's the best place to store hay. Also, you can make use of any other available buildings you've got. When we started out, we were putting hay in 2 houses, and we were actually putting the bales up the stairs into the 2nd floor. That's when you're young and dumb. We were putting straw in tobacco barns, and we were handing it up like sticks of tobacco to shove it up in there. We've put it in a greenhouse. Usually you have to quit work about 9 in the morning when you're putting it in a greenhouse. But you can put it anywhere. You can easily separate different qualities and cuttings of hay, and you can easily keep bottom bales off the ground by putting them on something. Now the cons. Number 1, it's labor intensive. Number 2, it's slow. It's slow to load it and it's slow to unload it. And number 3, if you've got a lot of hay to pick up, it requires a lot of wagons and a lot of space, especially if you need to get them wagons put up for the night. And then number 4, it's labor intensive. Number 5, it's labor intensive. And number 6, it's labor intensive. So the first mechanical system we're going to look at are the bale accumulators. These come in several different styles and configurations, but they basically all do the same thing. Now, most of them are pulled behind the hay baler, but I've seen 1 or 2 where you can pull it by itself and accumulate the bales, and basically all it does is it accumulates anywhere, I've seen them for anywhere from 8 to 15 bales, and it accumulates them in one spot, and then you've got your bales all over one spot, and you come back and pick them up. Now, first negative about this, and I only learned this while I was doing this research on this, is that most of these stack the bales flat. And flat is the worst way you can pick hay up and store it. And I have gone to people's barns where they've had an accumulator, and maybe the hay could have used another hour out in the sunshine, and they baled it, and when they put it in the barn, it didn't keep as good as it should because they stored it flat. Now, I found out there's a few models that actually turn them and put them on their edge. I don't know exactly how, if the baler turns it or the machine turns it, but there are some that store them on the edge, and that's the best way to store hay so that the hay can breathe. Operator skill requirements, I'm going to say medium, because the person going out there and picking these up and stacking them on the wagon has to have a little bit of skill, or they're going to be picking them up by hand and putting them back on the wagon on the way to the barn. And Third negative, for maximum efficiency, and when I say maximum efficiency, I mean getting this hay picked up, and when the hay baler leaves, all the hay is gone out of the field within an hour. For maximum efficiency, you need about 3 operators and tractor drivers in addition to the hay baler. The positives. When you're looking at new prices, this is the least expensive option out there. It only requires the purchase of 2 additional machines, and that is the accumulator itself and a grapple that matches the accumulator. And so as long as you've got a tractor with a loader or something with a loader, you're set up for this system. They are simple and low maintenance. Every one I've ever seen, it works by levers. It just, when a bale goes in, it kicks a lever, swings a gate, all mechanical, simple. They're easily adaptable to any operation. Flexible use of storage space. If you can get your tractor and loader in a barn, you can stack hay. Lends itself well to keep different cuttings separate. And I don't know about y'all, but y'all might be thinking, what am I talking about? But I'm always challenged by, I'll even have one field that the hay on this end is better than the hay on this end. And I'm driving around in circles out there trying to keep them all together. With this system, you can easily keep bottom bales off the floor, off the ground, and it works well for transport over long distances. You can load it on a good wagon and haul it as far as you want to haul it. Next, we're going to look at the bale banders. I was just made aware this morning, they said that at the machinery show last week, there was a new brand on the floor. I've never seen it. The only ones I'm familiar with are the Bale Bandit and the Bale Baron. But the way these work is they just pick them up, put them in bundles of 21. The Bale Bandit bands it with a metal strap, and the Baron with large plastic twine. The Bale Bandit works with a lot of eyes and electronics. My understanding, we've run one of these, it's a little bit more mechanical, not hardly high electronics. Okay, we're gonna do the cons first and the positives last, so we'll leave you with a good taste in your mouth on every one of these. But the number one negative of this, it's the most expensive machine you can buy. Now, when I say most expensive, even used ones are the cheapest I've seen a used one. I got a wild hair thinking I needed one of these last year, and cheapest one I found was $70,000, and that was like a 10-year-old machine. So they're very expensive. They require a large tractor. These are big machines, and they'll push you around the field. They're very complicated, and they're high maintenance. The operator skill level is very high, just because I ran one day, and I think the young guy was about to get tired of trying to teach me how to use the computer in there. I'm not smart enough to run one. But mainly, you want somebody competent running it because it's just such an expensive machine. You don't want to put just anybody dragging that thing across the field. It may require a newer, depending on the style you got, it may require a newer tractor with a high hydraulic capacity. May not be feasible with just one hay baler. Once the bales are bundled, they're still sitting in the field. You still got to go back and get them. And this tight bundle does not allow for the hay to breathe, so it doesn't keep well. Therefore, you have to bale it at a low moisture. Chad told me they do everything 14% or less. If it's over 14%, they use preservative. And everybody has advised me that if you're going to run one of these, it's advisable to have a moisture control sensor on your baler that automatically sprays the preservative when it gets above 14%. Negative number 9, you cannot see what's inside this bundle. So if there's a big clump of weeds or something in there, you don't know it till the customer opens it. Number 10, for maximum efficiency, and there again, to get it out of the field real fast, it takes about 5 machines and operators in addition to the hay balers to get that hay out of the field. And I'm basing that on, I had a guy come bale my straw last year. We were running 2 hay balers. He had the bale bearing, 2 guys on tractors putting the bundles in stacks of 23. He actually had went and bought a cotton truck from South Alabama. You line those things up and back that cotton truck up to them, boy, it just sucks them right up in there, and then he'd run to the barn and it'd spit them out. And then he had another guy putting them in the barn, but he had like 5 or 6 guys in addition to that. Now they moved a lot of straw really fast, but it still took a lot of operators and tractors. And number 11, for the models with the metal bands are a nuisance. 2 years ago, I had somebody come out and band some on my farm, some straw with a bandit, and a year later, we're still picking metal bands up around the farm where they would bust in the field. The pros, it only requires the purchase of 1 additional machine. You buy the bale bandit, the bale bearing, you don't even have to flip the bales, it works. As long as you've already got a tractor big enough to pull it. This thing can pick them bales up amazingly fast. I was riding a 4-wheeler beside one last summer, and I think I was in about 3rd gear keeping up with him. He was moving on across the field. I was amazed how fast he was running. For the guys doing the picking up, because it's in a bundle, it doesn't require a lot of skill for your loader operators. It works real well over long transport distances. Flexible use of storage assets. There again, if you can get your front end loader in a barn, you can set one of these bundles in there. Lends itself well to different cuttings, keeping the cuttings separate. Can easily keep bottom bales off the ground. Easy and rapid loading of flat trailers and 102 wide van trailers. All right, and then number 9, which to me is about the most important positive, is we were surprised, is a marketing advantage. People are so lazy. They just don't want to pick a bale of hay up. I sold my straw business to 2 young guys, and I gave them I gave them my straw business and sold them a truck. But 2 of the stores that I'd been providing straw to, when they started hauling the bundles to them, their sales went up 30%. Somebody comes in and says, I need 15 bales of straw. And they say, well, we got them in 21 bundles, we can just load them on your truck. Oh, I'll take 21. And it's amazing. People want the bundles, so it is definitely a marketing advantage. Okay, the next one are the stack wagons. As far as I know, New Holland's the only brand of stack wagon you can get. They come in self-propelled models and pull-type models. And the way they work is we have a chute we call a bale loader that picks them up, throws them on table number 1. When it gets full, it flips them up on table number 3 or 2. And then when that one gets full, it throws them up on the load rack. And then when you get your load rack full, you go to the barn or to the stack, and in theory, they stand up when you dump them. So it doesn't always work that way. The cons for this, the negatives, is the first and biggest one. It requires specialized barns. If you want to be most efficient, you're going to have to build a special barn for this. It's got to be a certain height, and something nobody told me, but you better have a good solid back wall or you'll end up pushing it out when you go to unloading these things. Operator skill is extremely high, especially in the models that don't, the older models that don't have computers. Now the ones with the computers you can sort of steer and get along, but you still got to know what you're doing to unload. But I have a friend who is extremely competent, 2 years older than me, farmed all his life just like me, and I called him last year. I said, I need help. I will pay you $50 an hour to come out and run my bale wagon. He said, man, I'll do that. He ran it one load, got out, said no thank you, and went home. And it is a job running them. It's difficult to keep setting different cuttings and different qualities separated. It's difficult to keep the bottom bales off of the ground. People have figured out different ways to do it, but it takes some effort. And they're not efficient over long transport distances. What I have found, 5 miles is the max. I mean, I have hauled them 10 or 15 miles, but you're spending a lot of time on the road. The sweet spot is 3 miles or less. I can keep up with one baler if I'm traveling 3 miles or less to put it in the barn. The positives, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm a stack wagon guy, so I'll just go ahead and tell you my bias here. That it only requires the addition of one machine, and it'll work for anybody. The only other thing you got to do is you have to put a bale turner on the tailgate of your baler, and you can make that yourself or buy one. Or do like we do sometimes, you put a kid on a four-wheeler and send him around the field with a stick, turning them all up on edge if you're in a real bad bind. There are several size options available. These things have been around so long. You can get one as, I think the lowest is 60 bales and up to 160 bales. They're very affordable. Now, a new one is very expensive, but you can buy the 60 bale units, the 105 bale units. You can get them anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500. If you're a small operator, you can still afford it. I bought one 4 years ago from a neighbor, really good machine, a 105 unit. I gave him $2,000 for it. He had bought it and he wasn't patient enough to make it run. And I said, well, I'll give you $2,000 for it. And he said, take it. And I think he had gave $5,000 for it the year before. So, but you can get some good deals out there. They're affordable. I personally have found these machines to be highly dependable, easily repairable, low maintenance, and they just last forever. There's a lot of these bale wagons out there that were built in the 60s still running. And you can just keep patching them together. Low horsepower requirements if you're a small operator. I think the smallest ones you can pull them with a 40 horsepower tractor. Stacks the hay on edge, which is better for the hay. And one thing I like, when I stack my hay in the barn, when I pull away, or as soon as it dumps it, you can see that stack, it'll open up. And you know that's airspace in there when it opens up. It's very efficient at moving bales out of the field in the right circumstances. Like I said, you're not very far from the barns. On my alfalfa fields, around my alfalfa barns, I can do 2 loads an hour. So that's about 300 bales an hour getting them picked up and in the barn. And the last positive on the stack wagons, and this is my favorite, is when you're done, you're done. You know, every now and then I never got my hay roller out this year, but every now and then we have to roll some hay, and I don't like it because I'm so spoiled to the stack wagon that I'm 30 minutes behind the hay baler guy. When he leaves in 30 minutes, I'm picked up. I go sit down and we go to the house. What I hate is when I have to roll all that hay, and then I got to go back out there with a tractor and pick all those rolls up again. I like it because when you've got it in the barn, every time you pick up a load, it's going in the barn and you're done. So in conclusion, there's 3 things you need to remember when you're looking at mechanical picker-upper systems. And the first is that it's a system. And you got to make it fit your needs. And another thing I'll tell you is your system is your system. Don't look at what somebody else has got and try to copy what them, unless you can make it work. But don't, do what works best for you. Because I've tried to fit. People are always telling me how I should be changing, and I said, man, what I do for me works. It works. And second, remember there are considerations beyond the field. Don't get so focused on getting the hay out of the field that you lose sight of quality and marketability of the hay. And then the third one, and I learned this at my very first alfalfa conference Dr. Lacefield said this 20 years ago, forages are the best they will ever be while they're growing in the field. The instant you cut it, the quality starts to deteriorate. And that day I heard it, I thought, well, I never even thought about that, but that's right. The instant you cut it, the quality starts to deteriorate. What we do after we cut it either hastens that deterioration or preserves that quality. Make sure you do what preserves quality. Thank you. Is there any questions or comments? And I want to say too that I know a lot of y'all run these, and y'all have got more input on them than I know. So yeah, yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you about your experience and how you manage what you think is a good base for a barn and a good way to.
Well, what we do on our stack wagons, I've got, is we put straw on the stack wagon first thing. We keep, and we got a wagon, and it sounds inefficient, but I got a wagon. I can pull up there even on a 100-degree day. I can pull up there and I can throw 18 bales of straw on there, kick it up, and head to the field. It takes me about 3 minutes to throw 18 bales of straw on there. And you lose that 18 bale capacity, and the other thing is, we get 4, 5, 6 years out of the straw bales. You know, it depends how good you take care of them. But so we put it on straw, and it does a superb job. We just really don't lose any bottom bales. Mud. Well, when I went to build my barn, you know, it's like building a house. You never know nothing the first time. I was going to build it up on this hill, and my barn guy said, I don't know, you're going to catch a lot of wind on that hill. I'd build it down here, so we did. Well, once a year, one of those 3-inch rains in 30 minutes, water comes through my hay barn. Now, I have put down big rock, put down plastic, little rock, and we dump all the rotten hay, straw in there we can, but it stays wet in there. And and if it really comes a big rain and gets wet, the straw will actually act like a straw and suck moisture up to that layer, that first layer. But that doesn't happen very often. But now I built a new barn 2 years ago, and I finally had time to do it right. I hauled in a bunch of loads of red clay. We built the floor up this high and built the barn around it. And then I went and bought a bunch of old tarps, and we laid down tarps, and then we covered it with crusher run gravel. And that's working good. I'm just putting that grass hay straight on that, and it's working good. But main thing is you need to get that floor raised up, and I get in a hurry. If I decide to build a barn today, I want to build a barn today. I don't want to prep the ground, and that's a fault of mine. So, any other questions? Comments? All right, well, I appreciate it.